Tonight's story is about something scarier than any ghost. A real person. A true crazy ex-horror story that's sure to creep into your dreams. This isn't about monsters under the bed or shadows on the wall. It's about someone who was once loved and trusted, and then turned into a living nightmare. Get ready, because after this, you might think twice about ignoring that gut feeling when someone seems a little off. It started when Daniel met Lisa during his first year of college. She was pretty, funny, and had a wild, unpredictable energy that made life exciting. At first, Daniel loved it. Lisa would show up at his dorm window at midnight with coffee, or leave little notes in his backpack. It felt romantic, passionate, like something out of a movie. But things started to feel wrong after a few months. Lisa would get upset if Daniel talked to other girls, even for class projects. She would call him 20 times if he didn't answer her text in 5 minutes. Once, after a small argument, Daniel found his car covered in sticky notes, hundreds of them, all saying, "I'm sorry," or "I love you." He tried to break up with her gently, thinking she would understand. Instead, that's when the nightmare really began. At first, it was little things. Daniel's phone would ring at 3 a.m., and when he answered, there would be silence. He would find strange notes taped to his door. Notes that sounded sweet at first, but soon became disturbing, talking about how they were meant to be together forever, no matter what. One night, he found his bedroom window cracked open, even though he was sure he had locked it. He convinced himself it was nothing, that maybe he had forgotten, until he found a strand of long blonde hair on his pillow. Lisa's hair. As the days went on, Daniel started feeling like he was being watched. He would glance out the window at night and swear he saw a figure standing near the trees. When he walked to his car, he sometimes noticed footprints in the dirt leading up to it. Small footprints, like someone had been pacing back and forth. He reported it to campus security, but they didn't take him seriously. After all, no real crime had happened. Daniel started losing sleep. His friends noticed how tired and jumpy he had become, but he didn't want to admit he was scared. It was embarrassing. Lisa was just one person. How dangerous could she be? One evening, Daniel came back to his dorm after a late study session. As he unlocked the door, he felt a chill run down his spine. The door wasn't just unlocked, it was slightly open. Heart pounding, he pushed it wide and stepped inside. Everything looked normal at first. Then he saw it. In the middle of his bed was a framed photo of him and Lisa, shattered glass covering his sheets. Written across the photo in red lipstick were the words, "You can't leave me." Daniel's blood turned to ice. He called the police, finally realizing this wasn't harmless anymore. They took a report, but warned him there wasn't much they could do unless Lisa physically hurt him. They advised him to stay somewhere else for a while. Daniel decided to crash at his friend Matt's place off campus. He thought he'd be safe there. For the first night, he actually managed to sleep. But the next morning, as he and Matt walked out to the driveway, they both froze. Scratched into the hood of Daniel's car were 4 words. "I see you, Daniel." That night, Daniel couldn't take it anymore. He kept the lights on. He kept a bat next to the bed. Every little creak, every gust of wind made him jump. And just when he was about to drift off to sleep, the front doorbell rang. Matt grabbed the bat. Daniel peeked out the window. There was no one there. But on the doormat was a small box wrapped like a gift. Against his better judgment, Daniel opened it. Inside was a single Polaroid photo, a picture of him sleeping. It was taken from outside the window. Daniel went to the police again. This time, they treated it seriously. They issued a restraining order and put extra patrols around the campus. Lisa was found 2 days later hiding inside Daniel's dorm closet with a backpack full of snacks, duct tape, and scissors. When the police asked her what she was doing, she smiled sweetly and said, "Waiting for him. We're supposed to be together forever." Daniel eventually transferred to another college far away, changed his phone number, and deleted all social media. It took him years before he could sleep peacefully again. Even today, he checks every window and lock before going to bed. Because some nightmares don't end when you wake up. Some nightmares are real. Fear has a way of getting under your skin, making you question the safety of the world around you. Scary stories like Daniel's remind us that sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones we should fear. And when fear is real, it stays with you long after the lights go out. Which part of Daniel's terrifying story chilled you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you love stories that make your skin crawl and your heart race, don't forget to subscribe for more spine-chilling true horror tales. Sweet dreams, if you can. Daniel never thought breaking up with someone would be the scariest thing he ever did. It started out like any normal college relationship. He met Emily during his second semester, and at first, she was everything he wanted. Funny, smart, a little bit mysterious. She made him feel like he was the most important person in the world. But as the months passed, that special attention started to feel heavy, like a weight he couldn't shake off. She would get upset if he didn't answer texts within minutes. She would show up at his dorm uninvited and wait outside his classes. Once, he caught her sitting alone at the table next to him and his friends at a coffee shop pretending to study. It was weird, but Daniel told himself she was just really into him. Maybe it was normal. Maybe he was overthinking. The night he decided to break up with her, he rehearsed what he would say over and over. When he finally told her it wasn't working, Emily's face went blank. She didn't cry, she didn't yell, she just stared at him, silent for so long that Daniel started to feel sick. Then she smiled, not a normal smile, a cold, twisted one. She said, "You'll be sorry." At first, Daniel brushed it off. People say crazy things when they're hurt. But that same night, he found dozens of missed calls from a blocked number. Then the messages started. They were strange. Pictures of empty hallways, dark roads, shots taken from behind bushes, always with a message, "Thinking of you." Daniel changed his number, blocked every account he had. But the messages didn't stop. New numbers, fake profiles. It was like Emily was always one step ahead. One night, Daniel was walking back to his dorm after a late study session. The path was dark and quiet. Halfway there, he heard footsteps behind him. Not fast, just steady, like someone was matching his pace. When he turned around, no one was there. He walked faster. The steps got faster, too. Daniel sprinted the last 100 feet to the dorm door and slammed it shut behind him, heart pounding out of his chest. He didn't sleep that night. Things got worse. He found strange things left outside his door. A dead rose tied with black, ribbon, a broken mirror, once even a small stuffed bear with its eyes ripped out. His friends told him to call the police, but what could he say? That he thought his ex was stalking him but had no proof. Daniel tried to act normal, tried to focus on his classes, until the night of the fire alarm. It was 3 a.m. when the alarms started blaring. Everyone in the dorm stumbled outside, shivering in the cold. As Daniel stood there with the others, he noticed something that made his blood freeze. Across the street, just beyond the edge of the parking lot lights, stood a figure. It was a girl. Long, dark hair, head tilted slightly, just watching him. Daniel couldn't move, couldn't even speak. He stared at her, heart hammering against his ribs. The figure slowly lifted a hand and waved. Then she disappeared into the shadows. The next morning, the fire department announced that someone had pulled the alarm. No real fire, just a prank, they said. But Daniel knew better. The final straw came a week later. He was getting ready to head home for the weekend, desperate for a break. As he packed, he noticed his closet door was slightly open. He could have sworn he had closed it. When he pulled it open, something fell out onto the floor. A small envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper with just 5 words written in red ink. "You can't run from me." Daniel didn't even stop to think. He grabbed his bag and ran straight to his car. As he pulled out of the parking lot, he checked the rearview mirror. For a second, just a second, he saw her standing by the dorm entrance, smiling. He didn't go home. He drove straight to the police station. Finally, they took him seriously. They checked his dorm and found evidence that someone had been inside, hidden cameras placed around his room. Daniel felt sick when he realized how long she must have been watching him. A few days later, they arrested Emily. She had been living in an abandoned maintenance shed near the campus. Inside, they found a wall covered in photos of Daniel, sleeping, eating, walking to class. Some of the pictures had little hearts drawn around them. Others had words like "mine" scratched into the paper over and over. Daniel transferred schools a month later. He changed his name on social media and made sure no one could find his new address. Even now, years later, he still feels like he's being watched sometimes. He triple checks locks. He sleeps with his phone right next to him. Because once you've lived through a real-life horror story, part of you never really feels safe again. Some people think horror is just ghosts and haunted houses. But sometimes the scariest monsters are real. They look like someone you once loved. Someone who once smiled at you like you were their whole world. Which part of Daniel's terrifying story shook you the most? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more real-life horror stories that will haunt your nights, don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot more to fear than you think. Tyler always thought crazy ex stories were just jokes people told. He never believed it could happen to him. Not until Mia. They met during a summer internship. She was beautiful, charming, and had this way of making Tyler feel like he was the only person in the room. Everything moved fast. Late night talks, weekend trips, promises of forever. At first, it felt exciting. But by the end of the summer, Tyler started seeing another side of her. If he didn't answer her texts right away, Mia would blow up, his phone with messages. If he wanted a night to hang out with his friends, she would show up uninvited. When he finally told her he needed space, Mia didn't cry. She didn't argue. She just stared at him like he had betrayed her in a way she couldn't forgive. Tyler thought it was over. He thought she would move on. Instead, the nightmare began. It started small. He'd find little notes stuck to his windshield. Things like, "I miss you, and you'll regret this." Then, things got weirder. One night, he came home to find the lights in his apartment on. He could have sworn he turned them off when he left. Nothing was missing. But a picture of him and his mom had been placed face down on the kitchen table. He changed his locks. He set up cameras. But nothing showed up. It was like Mia knew exactly how to stay hidden. A few weeks later, Tyler started getting packages. At first, it was harmless stuff. A pizza he didn't order, a teddy bear. Then it got darker. He received a box filled with dead flowers. Another time, a single black candle melted down and twisted into a strange shape. Each package had no return address, no fingerprints, no clues. Tyler barely slept anymore. He kept checking the windows, jumping at every sound. His friends told him he was just stressed, that Mia was just trying to scare him, but it would pass. Tyler wanted to believe them, until the night he woke up to find someone standing at the foot of his bed. For a second, he thought he was dreaming, but when he sat up and rubbed his eyes, the figure didn't vanish. It was Mia, standing there in the dark, holding something in her hand. A small knife. Tyler froze. His mouth went dry. He couldn't even scream. Mia just stood there, smiling, softly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. She whispered, "Now we can be together forever." Without thinking, Tyler threw a pillow at her and bolted from the room. He didn't stop to grab anything. He just ran. Out the door, down the street, barefoot, heart hammering against his chest. He called the police from a gas station a mile away. When they searched his apartment, Mia was gone. But they found something under his bed. A diary. It was full of pages about Tyler. His schedule, his friends' names, his favorite foods. But the last few pages were the worst. They were filled with plans. Plans about how to make him stay. The police issued a restraining order. Tyler moved in with a friend across town. He tried to rebuild his life. But it wasn't that easy. He'd catch glimpses of Mia sometimes. A flash of her hair around a corner. The back of her head in a crowd. Once he swore he saw her car parked outside his new apartment. But when he ran down, it was gone. Months passed. Slowly, the fear started to fade. Tyler started sleeping again, laughing again, even dating someone new. He thought maybe it was finally over. But then one night, his new girlfriend found a note taped to her car. It was just 5 words, written in the same handwriting Tyler would never forget. "He belongs to me now." That was the moment Tyler realized the truth. Some nightmares don't end when you wake up. Some keep living in the corners of your life, hiding in plain sight, waiting for you to let your guard down. He still doesn't know where Mia is. No one does. But sometimes, when he's walking alone or sitting by his window at night, he feels it, that creeping, heavy feeling that someone is watching him. And deep down, he knows he's right. Because some monsters don't live under the bed. They walk on 2 feet. They smile at you. They say they love you. And by the time you realize what they really are, it's already too late. Ryan thought breaking up with Jenna would be simple. He thought she would cry, maybe yell, and move on like people usually did. But Jenna wasn't like other people. He realized that too late. At first, she took the breakup well. Too well. She smiled and said, "I understand," and walked away. Ryan felt a little guilty, but relieved. He started seeing someone new a few weeks later, thinking it was all behind him. But Jenna wasn't done. Little things started happening. His phone would ring once in the middle of the night, then stop. When he checked, there would be no caller ID. Sometimes he would hear tapping on his window at 3 a.m., even though he lived on the 2nd floor. Once, he found a picture of himself on his doorstep, taken from outside his window while he slept. He changed his number. He moved apartments. He even deleted his social media. For a while, everything went quiet. Then one night, Ryan's new girlfriend, Liz, found something strange. She was looking for a charger in the bedroom closet when she noticed a small hole, like a vent, cut into the back wall. Curious, she got closer. Behind the hole was a hidden space, just big enough for a person to crawl inside. Inside that cramped, dark space, they found food wrappers, water bottles, and dozens of photos of Ryan sleeping, working, even showering. Worse, some of the photos were from his new apartment, the one Jenna wasn't supposed to know about. Ryan's blood ran cold. He realized he hadn't been living alone for weeks. Jenna had been hiding in the walls, watching him, living inches away without him ever knowing. They called the police immediately. The cops searched the hidden space, but Jenna was already gone. It was like she had just vanished into thin air. For a while after that, Ryan lived in fear. Every creak of the floor, every flicker of the lights, every shadow out of the corner of his eye made him wonder if Jenna was still there, just out of sight. One night, desperate for peace, Ryan decided to stay at Liz's place. As they lay in bed trying to sleep, Liz leaned over and whispered, "Ryan, the door." Ryan opened his eyes. The bedroom door, which they had locked, was now slowly swinging open, but no one was there. They both sat up, frozen. Then they heard it, breathing. Soft, steady breathing coming from inside the room. Ryan reached for the lamp, but before he could turn it on, something cold brushed against his hand. He yanked it back and flicked on the light. There, crouched in the corner of the room, was Jenna. Her hair was wild, her face pale and hollow. She smiled. In the faint light, her eyes wide and shining. She didn't say a word. She just stared. Ryan and Liz ran. They didn't look back. They heard Jenna's footsteps behind them, fast and heavy, chasing them down the hallway. They barely made it outside before calling the police again. This time, Jenna was arrested. She had broken into Liz's apartment weeks ago and had been hiding in closets, under beds, behind furniture, slipping out at night to watch them sleep, to take more pictures, to live in their shadows. Ryan pressed charges. He got a restraining order. He moved again, this time across the country. He even changed his name. But sometimes, even now, Ryan wakes up in the middle of the night. Not because of a sound, not because of a nightmare, because of a feeling. The feeling that someone is standing just out of sight, watching him in the dark, waiting. And deep inside, Ryan knows. Some nightmares you can run from, but you can never escape. Some people cling to you like a curse you can never break. When Nathan ended things with Claire, he thought it would be painful but simple. They had been together for almost 2 years. He cared about her, but something had changed. She had become too controlling, too intense. She needed him every second. It was exhausting. So one cold evening, sitting in a busy coffee shop, he gently told her it was over. Claire didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just smiled and said, "You'll never really leave me." Nathan thought it was just a weird thing to say. He brushed it off and moved on. Or at least, he tried to. The first strange thing happened 2 nights later. He came home to his new apartment and found the front door slightly open. Nothing was missing, nothing was broken, but something was off. His pillows had been moved. His toothbrush was wet. It was as if someone had been there, pretending to be him, living. In his space, he changed the locks. He installed cameras, but the cameras kept glitching, showing static for hours at a time. His friends joked that he was just paranoid. Maybe it was the stress of the breakup. Nathan wanted to believe that too, but deep down, he knew. One morning, Nathan woke up and found a message written on his bathroom mirror, even though he lived alone. It was simple. Just 2 words. Miss me? He scrubbed it off, trying not to panic. He filed a police report. They said they couldn't do much unless he caught someone in the act. Then came the gifts. A dead bird left on his doorstep. A jar full of hair. His favorite hoodie, the one he thought he lost months ago, folded neatly on his bed. The worst part was, Nathan never saw her. It was like Claire was a ghost, slipping in and out without a sound, always one step ahead. Terrified, Nathan decided to move across the state. New apartment, new job, new life. He didn't tell anyone his new address, not even his closest friends. For the first few weeks, it felt like it worked. He slept through the night. He smiled again. He thought he had finally escaped. But one night, after unpacking boxes all evening, Nathan heard something. A faint tapping. It was coming from inside the apartment, not outside. He grabbed a flashlight and followed the noise. It led him to the bedroom, to the closet. When he opened the door, he expected to find a rat or maybe a broken pipe. But instead, there was a tiny crawl space at the back, barely big enough for someone to slip through. Nathan got down on his knees, heart racing, and shined the light inside. At first, he saw nothing. Then, in the far corner, he saw something that made him fall backward in fear. It was a message, scratched into the wall with something sharp. 4 chilling words. "See you soon, Nathan." He slammed the closet door shut and backed away, barely able to breathe. He grabbed his keys, phone, and left the apartment without even putting on his shoes. He drove to a hotel miles away and locked himself inside. The police searched the crawl space. They didn't find Claire, but they found signs that someone had been living there. Scraps of food, a dirty blanket, even old photos of Nathan sleeping. How Claire found him. How she slipped into a brand new apartment without a trace. Nathan still doesn't know. Maybe she had been following him the whole time. Maybe she never really left. Even now, months later, Nathan still moves from place to place. He never stays anywhere too long. He checks every closet, every vent, every crack in the wall, because he knows Claire is out there somewhere, watching, waiting. And next time, she might not just leave a message.